Rick Pitino. He's back. St. John's looks awesome right now. Over, I'm looking at Tom Izzo, who's just a different style, kind of that grandfather, very, very fiery, super, super pimp. I look at his Mission State club, and I think to myself, damn, St. John's, tough nose, gets the ball, don't depend on the three, physical defense. I look over at Tom Izzo right now, and they got 10 different dudes that have led the team in scoring at some point in the season. Yeah. They throw bodies at you. They play physical defense. Of these two coaches, their two coaching styles right now, which one of these teams do you feel has the best chance to make a little noise in the tournament?
I think it's Michigan State. You know, everybody, and what Rick Pitino's done at St. John's is incredibly impressive. And they're both old school, fiery guys, and that's a rarity in college athletics nowadays. But when I look at St. John's, they can go through these ruts offensively, and they rely heavily on mid-range jump shots. So I know a lot of people, it's a sexy pick to go to they're a sexy pick to go to the Final Four. But I look at Michigan State, and not that they're perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but what I like about them is that their guards can play any pace of game. Whether it's Holloman, you know, they've got a freshman that's a really good player. They got some guys in the post that can do some things. I mean, the Carr kid is electric out of Georgia. I think he's out of Brunswick. But they can play fast and they can play slow. With St. John's, I don't know how well they will do in a transition game, or if they run up against somebody that's got a decent post player and they're not hitting shots, I think they maybe could get bounced early. I'm actually putting St. John's on upset alert early because I look at the way their game kind of translates, and it scares me for the NCAA tournament. So I would take Michigan State to go the furthest out of those two right now.
They have 8 guys averaging 14 and a half minutes or more, double digit. It goes to 9. They throw everybody from Fears to Akins to Richardson to Kohler. It's just depth. In the NCAA tournament, a lot of people think you need that one guy to go get it. It feels like Holloman is that guy who's got that little bit of fire. Feels like down the stretch he can take over at games to score for him. But if you have like a roster that deep, does it help you or can it possibly sometimes hurt you?
Well, look, it's you know, it's not the size of the you know, boat.
It's the motion of the ocean.
So, like, if you know, look, again, you want to have versatility, right? You want to have depth. That really helps you throughout the regular season, and you kind of get into a routine of, all right, I'm playing this amount of minutes per game. I know my role, and it's carved out. And you know, we said the same thing with Auburn when you look at how many guys they play. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the NCAA tournament, I want my best players on the floor the longest. So if you're running somebody out of the gym, obviously use that depth, use that versatility. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know more than Tom Izzo or Bruce Pearl, but I do know when it comes down to the sudden death elimination of the NCAA tournament, I got to have my best 5 on the court the most. And I think that's what you're going to see. A lot of minutes get cut down when you get to the tournament. So I'll be intrigued to see how that goes. You know, the first round game, while we do have 15s upset 2s, obviously more regularly than 16s upset 1s, it's really when you get into that second game where if you're the 1 seed, you know, you're playing the winner of that 8-9 game. And you know, if you're the 2 seed, obviously you ramp up competition in the second round as well. But look, I want my big hitters on the court for the longest when it comes down to the tournament.
Man, we've been talking hoops because it's March, baby. The madness is like less than a week away from Selection Sunday, 6 more days. I can't wait. We got all the conference tournaments going on. We got some tournaments action closing out tonight in the smaller conferences, but we still, NFL 24/7, 365. Yep. Some awesome moves out there this week in the National Football League. I love this time of the year, but I also get, you know, confused a lot. One of the things that I'm very, very confused a lot is, listen, I know Myles Garrett is an absolute freak of a human being, and I think he would be great with a contender. But why would you go, if you're the Cleveland Browns, and spend 15% of your projected cap number on a superstar defensive end when you have basically a cap-crippled team already and a quarterback Cleveland Browns? Don't you feel like sometimes you just got to wipe the slate clean and start young? Like, what can Myles Garrett do for a Browns team in that division? Like, how does that help?
Look, Myles Garrett is an incredible player. Nobody is doubting that. But the beautiful thing about the sport of football is it's truly a team effort. It is the most reliant on the team aspect of any of the 3 major sports when you look at it. So I'm with you. You know, you'd love to live in a world where, you could keep Myles Garrett and you put the pieces offensively enough to be able to make a run. But Cleveland just doesn't have that. And you bring up the cap crippling and what they still have to pay Deshaun Watson, whether he plays or not. It's just, if you're going to rebuild, then burn it all down and rebuild. And use the best pieces you have to mortgage your future. You could have gotten a lot for Myles Garrett.
Yep.
A ton. There would be people willing to pay a king's ransom who are on the doorstep of winning a Super Bowl to get him to push them over the edge. And, I mean, you look at a team like the Commanders, right, who they may end up getting Trey Hendrickson anyway, who's not Myles Garrett, but he's still a hell of a player. I just think you could have gotten a lot more bang for your buck outside of letting Myles Garrett be a great defensive player, but you can't score any points offensively. The Browns aren't winning a Super Bowl, and the only way that Myles Garrett was going to be happy is if they threw the whole vault at him, and they did. So I'm with you, Johnny Radio. Looking at the team aspect, I don't see how this gets the Browns closer to a Super Bowl.
I don't either. It just makes more. It just feels like it's just going to be more misery for Browns fans, and by now they should. They should be used to it. Damn, man, Ernest Biner. I can go way back. Now, just talking about some of the moves. There's another one that kind of has me scratching my head. You mentioned Trey Hendrickson. Led the league last year, I think, in 17.5 sacks. Absolute stud. He was the only person on defense that was any good. We talked about this Bengals team ad nauseum, if they would have had a better start, maybe if they had a better officiating against Kansas City Chiefs. But they did miss the playoffs, even though Joe Burrow had basically almost a record-setting season. And they've spent 60% of their cap on their quarterback and 2 wide receivers. Trey Hendrickson looks like he's going to bounce. How the hell are they going to fix anything on defense?
Man, it's a great question. That one kind of had me scratching my head because it felt like it was a great fit. And you bring up the Bengals defense, and that's been a huge problem, but he was one of the few bright spots. So I don't know, maybe if monetarily he was wanting something that they couldn't do, but I'm saying you better hit in the draft.
Yep.
Or you better do something to bring in some guys. And listen, with the Bengals, you don't have to have an elite defense with Joe Burrow and what you have offensively. But you can't be cheek water, and that's what they are. So I'm unless there's some master grand plan in place that we're just not seeing yet, or they have some answers that they haven't divvied out to us yet, I'm not seeing how this gets the Bengals closer to the Super Bowl. Because you always want to accentuate your strengths, but you have to fix your weaknesses first. And you have to keep the guys that actually are playing well on the side of the ball where you struggle the most. So, again, I'm always one to kind of let it play out because, you know, the minute that we're hearing about something, a decision was made a week ago, right? It's the same thing in politics and stuff like that. So there may be some plan in place that makes this look like a smart decision down the road, but just off the cuff, I'm not seeing it.
Did Davante Adams make a good decision? Because if you look at that Rams team last year, let's be real, like they might have been the best team that played Philadelphia in the NFC, and the Eagles, obviously, and Howie Roseman and them boys went and won that bad boy. They bring over, I mean, you got Puka Nacua, who is a legit number one, found him in the 5th round. He's a stud. Now you get Davante Adams, you got Matt Stafford, very young defense that looked real good, can get to the quarterback, force turnovers, great offensive line. Stafford, Rams make themselves much better grabbing Davante.
Oh, I think it was a great decision by both sides. You know, obviously Cooper Kupp moving on from the Rams, and you get Davante Adams, who's still got a lot of juice left in him. And for Davante, he wants to win a Super Bowl. And I think the Rams are one of the 4 to 5 teams that I think have the capability to do that. And it's never a bad decision to go have Matthew Stafford throw you the football. I know Matthew's older, but he's still got it. I mean, the guy's absolutely incredible. And you brought up that young defense. I look at team balance, and I look at replacing stars that you've had. I think it's an upgrade. I love Cooper Kupp, but you can give me Davante Adams all day. And you also have Puka Nacua on the other side where teams just can't double everybody. And you've got a run game with Kyron Williams in that offensive line that's one of the best in the NFL. So I think this is an example of two sides making a transaction that really helps both of them outside of just bringing in a guy to replace the guy. So I think the Rams are in a really, really good spot. And I may put a future on them because I think they may win the Super Bowl next year.
Man, nobody's helped me financially, not even this place Flynn Broadcasting, than Jake Crane and all his picks. You need to be watching Crane and Company. Blaine, David, and Jake tear it up every single week. It's easy. What y'all got coming down the pipe over at Crane and Company?
Oh, man, we're talking everything. We're picking our conference tournament winners today. talking a lot of college basketball. Obviously going to hit what's going on with the NFL trades and kind of who we've seen are the winners and losers. And, man, we're going to drop some bets today. So head on over to Crane & Company. We're easy to find, whether it's YouTube, Roku, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, CRAIN and Company, and let's go get this money together.
Man, be easy, be blessed, and enjoy your Motorboat Monday, Jake. I'll be watching.
Oh, I will, believe me. And I won't be thinking about you when I'm enjoying it, but it's still going to be fun.
I love that, man. We got to take a quick timeout. I'm late for a break. Tigers got a big win on Friday. They're still not looking good to the bracketologists. Well, let me just tell you. This is, I can't even think of a metaphor or an analogy. I should have waited with Jake Crane. I was trying to think, Cinderella, her slipper fell off, and, did she turn ugly, or did she get prettier? Or what was the slipper for? What the hell was the slipper for? Because I know Cinderella's the slipper one because I have daughters and they love dressing up as Belle and Cinderella. But my point is if the Tigers right now, who Lenardi and them have as an 8 seed, and there's a couple of them as 7, this, I don't know if you ain't looked. They look sexy to me. Did the slipper make them look like? Or is everybody else going to find the slipper? What the hell's going on with the slipper? And why do we always say Cinderella around March? Because I don't think the Tigers are no Cinderella. They already a fine, tall glass of water. Was it Cinderella? Oh, you know what? I think Cinderella, was she some poverty-stricken from the streets girl who people didn't think was fine until they, cleaned her up and put a little makeup and put a slipper on her?
I had to re-look that up, John.
What happened with Cinderella and her damn slipper? Why do people call everybody Cinderella during March?
The spell wore off, and the slipper fell off.
Wait,
kind of
what
spell.
spell? So she wasn't hot, but she looked hot because she had a slipper on?
I mean, she wasn't no Jessica Rabbit, but,
So, I'm just telling you, man, the Tigers don't need a slipper on because they fine. You know what I'm saying? They coming in this bad boy what's our little hot ring girl that got famous during the Jake Paul?
Oh, okay, here it is, John. So when the slipper falls off, that's when the prince comes to find her, and the slipper only fits her foot. That's what it was about. So the slipper falls off, you got to find that special one. It's the only one.
Oh, so the prince had a foot fetish?
I guess so, but,
is that the first foot fetish in recorded history?
Recorded history.
You know what? That just makes me think. Rex Ryan probably got into his foot fetish from Cinderella. Well, let me just tell you something, man. We don't need no prince with a foot fetish to fix Memphis, because Memphis, man's playing good basketball. They're going to dominate this tournament. And when they get in the tournament, oh, buddy, I cannot wait. You better watch out. Them 3 guards, Dane Danger around there. He's tearing things up. They're coming together, and we're going to talk more Tigers and Grizzlies, who got 2 very important wins. I also do have to say, though, that second quarter last night, I think their defensive philosophy was, let's leave them wide open at the 3-point line and just hope that they miss it. But damn it, did they come out and have a hella second half. Our 2 guards, Desmond Bain, Maine, and Ja, did their business. They got another big win. All that and more next with Terry Davis on Motorbait Monday on Sports 56 98.5 FM.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Sports 56. There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wallow said hello.
Elwood Shack and the Lowe's parking lot on Summer just keeps getting bigger and better. Bigger because now there's a second Elwood Shack at 4040 Park Plus University of Memphis. and better because you can get breakfast every day at both Elwood. So there's the barbecue breakfast burrito, skippy brisket or pork shoulder, and pancake biscuits made fresh daily, real house-made pancakes, apple and bacon, French toast, and more. And the new Elwood Veganizer Real Coffee Bar serving fresh roasted J. Brooks coffee. Elwood Chef, now in 2 locations and open every day for you.
Things are just better when you switch to Cricket. The sun shines a little brighter. Happy music starts randomly playing. Best of all, you can get iPhone 13 for just $29.99 with the ultra bright Super Retina display and up to 19 hours of video playback, all on Cricket's super fast 5G.